Welcome back, everyone, to a new story. We really hope you enjoy it. Why are my boobs growing? Mom. The words tumbled out of my mouth, a clumsy, panicked mess. I was standing in front of my bedroom mirror, shirtless, my hands cupped over the slight, tender swellings on my chest. They weren't much, just two sensitive, puffy mounds where flat pectoral muscle should have been, but they were undeniably there. They hurt, too, with a dull, persistent ache, like a bruise you can't remember getting. My mom, who had just come in to tell me I was going to be late for school, froze in the doorway. Her coffee mug paused halfway to her lips. "What did you just say, Trevor?" My voice cracked. "Look." I dropped my hands, turning to face her. The morning light from the window was unforgiving, outlining the subtle new curves of my torso. My skin, I noticed with a fresh wave of horror, seemed softer, smoother. The faint dusting of hair on my chest was gone. Mom set her mug down on my dresser with a soft click. She walked over, her face a mixture of confusion and concern, and gently touched my shoulder. Her fingers were warm. "Honey, what is this?" She peered closer at my chest. "Are you having some kind of allergic reaction?" "It's not an allergy," I choked out, my throat tight. "It happened overnight. I woke up and I'm different." It was more than just my chest. My reflection was a funhouse mirror version of me. My jawline seemed less sharp, my cheeks fuller. My waist had a hint of an inward curve it didn't have yesterday. And when I ran a hand through my hair, it felt silkier, finer. I looked like someone had taken a photo of me and applied a subtle feminized filter. This had to be because of the MORE program. My parents, both tech executives, had enrolled our family in the beta test for the Metaphysical Oscillation and Reality Enhancement System. It was supposed to be a quantum field device that subtly optimized your life better luck. Improved health, minor conveniences. The marketing brochure called it reality. Curated for you. Until this morning, the only change I'd noticed was that I always found a great parking spot at the mall. This was not a great parking spot. This was a catastrophic system failure. My sister, Olivia, appeared in the doorway, drawn by the commotion. She was 2 years younger than me, a whirlwind of sharp wit and dyed pink hair. She took one look at my chest, my panicked expression, and my mom's worried face, and a slow, mischievous grin spread across her lips. "Whoa," she said, leaning against the doorframe. "Looks like someone's finally hitting puberty. Just the wrong one." "Olivia, not now," Mom snapped. But the damage was done. I felt a hot flush of shame creep up my neck. My dad was called in. He stood awkwardly by my desk, trying not to stare at my chest, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. He was the one who had been most excited about MORE. Now he just looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. He cleared his throat. "I've already called the MORE support line," he announced to the room. "They're escalating it," the technician said. He said it sounds like a rare parameter corruption. A reality bleed. They've never seen it happen to a person's physical form before. "So they can fix it, right?" I asked, my voice trembling. "They can change me back." "They're working on it, son," he said. But he couldn't meet my eyes. They said it could take some time to isolate the corrupted data stream. Time I had to go to school in less than an hour. I couldn't go like this. My friends, my team, Madison, my girlfriend, well, ex-girlfriend as of last week, but still was not someone I wanted seeing me like this. Defeated. I turned to my closet. My life was a nightmare. But the school bell still rang at 8:15. I pulled out my favorite gray hoodie and a pair of worn-in jeans. The jeans felt loose, baggy around the hips in a way they never were before. When I pulled on the hoodie, it hung off my shoulders, the familiar fabric feeling alien against my newly sensitive skin. I looked in the mirror again. The clothes only made it worse. They made me look like a little kid swimming in his dad's clothes, emphasizing the delicate turn of my wrists and the slender column of my neck. Olivia, who had been watching silently, finally took pity on me. "That looks terrible," she said bluntly. "You can't wear that. You look like a sad, deflated balloon." "What am I supposed to wear?" Then I shot back, frustration making my voice shrill. She disappeared into her room and returned a moment later with a plain black t-shirt. It was one of hers, a scoop neck made of a soft, stretchy cotton. "Here, try this." Are you insane? That's a girl's shirt. It's a t-shirt, you idiot. It's stretchy. It'll fit you better than your potato sacks right now. Just put it on under your hoodie. It'll hold things in place a bit. She gestured vaguely at my chest. My other option was to go to school looking like a scarecrow with a secret. Gritting my teeth, I pulled off my hoodie and slipped her shirt on. The sensation was immediate and overwhelming. The fabric was designed for a female figure, and it clung to me in ways I'd never experienced. It was tight across my chest, the soft material pressing my tender flesh back against my ribs. The scoop neck dipped lower than I was used to, exposing the smooth skin of my collarbone. Most disturbingly, it tapered at the waist, hugging the new, subtle curve there. It wasn't just a piece of clothing. It felt like a second skin, one that was telling a story about my body that I didn't want told. I felt my face burn with a deep, profound shame. This was wrong. This was a girl's shirt. The feeling of it against my skin was intimate and foreign. Yet, when I looked in the mirror, Olivia was right. Under my hoodie, the tighter shirt created a smoother, more masculine silhouette. It was a compromise born of desperation. Olivia gave me a sympathetic, if still slightly amused, "Look, see better. Now, just try not to stand up too straight or breathe too deeply. And for God's sake, don't get in any fights." I spent the rest of the morning in a daze, the soft, binding pressure of the t-shirt a constant reminder of the bizarre reality I'd woken up in. Every step I took felt strange, my balance subtly off. My body was no longer mine. It was a borrowed, ill-fitting costume, and today was the dress rehearsal for a play I never wanted to be in. The first act was about to begin, and my stage was the unforgiving halls of Northgate High. The first day of my new life was a masterclass in paranoia. Every glance in my direction felt like an accusation. Every whisper seemed to be about me. Walking through the crowded school hallway was like wading through molasses. The air was thick with curiosity. The Moore Corporation had, in their own terrifyingly efficient way, adjusted my social profile. That's what the email from their crisis team had said. It meant that while my name was still Trevor Ashworth, my official school photos and records had been subtly altered to reflect my softer appearance. To the administration, I was just a kid who'd had a weird growth spurt over the summer. To everyone else, I was a walking question mark. "Dude, Ashworth, you okay?" my friend Liam asked, slapping me on the back. I flinched, a sharp pain lancing through my chest. The tight shirt and a sports bra I'd stolen from Olivia's laundry basket, an act of pure, unadulterated desperation, were constricting me like a vice. It was my first attempt at what I guess you could call reverse cross-dressing, trying to use female garments to look more male. It was uncomfortable, humiliating, and barely working. "Fine," I mumbled, hunching my shoulders. "Just pulled a muscle at the gym." "You look different," he said, squinting at me. "Did you lose weight? Your face is, I don't know, thinner." It wasn't thinner. It was just less angular, more delicate. Bad lighting. I lied, pulling my hoodie up over my head. The lie felt flimsy, pathetic. My body was a ticking time bomb of femininity, and every day was a frantic effort to diffuse it. I took to wearing layers, even as the September heat lingered. Hoodies became my armor, baggy jeans my shield. I avoided the locker room at all costs, making up excuses about changing at home. I was a ghost in my own life, haunting the edges of conversations, terrified of being truly seen. The worst part was Madison. We'd broken up because she said I wasn't in touch with my feelings. Now, I was nothing but feelings raw, exposed nerve of fear and confusion, and I couldn't share it with anyone. I saw her by her locker, laughing with her friends. She looked up as I passed, and her eyes met mine. For a second, there was no recognition, just a flicker of interest, the kind a girl gives a new, intriguing face in the hallway. Then, a slow wave of confusion washed over her features. "Trevor?" she asked, her head tilted. "Wow, you look really different." She stepped closer, her gaze analytical. "It's a good different, though. Your skin is amazing. What are you using?" My heart hammered against my ribs. Just soap." Her friends giggled. "Whatever it is, it's working," one of them said. "You look kind of pretty." Pretty. The word hit me like a physical blow. It was meant as a compliment, but it felt like an insult, a confirmation of my worst fears. I was losing myself, piece by piece, and people were starting to notice. I muttered something about being late for class and fled, the sound of their laughter echoing behind me. That day in chemistry, we were working with Bunsen burners. I had to lean over the table to adjust the gas valve, and the collar of my hoodie gaped open. For a split second, the scoop neck of Olivia's black t-shirt was visible. I saw Sarah, my lab partner, notice it. Her eyes widened for a fraction of a second before she quickly looked away, a blush creeping up her neck. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. The question was hanging in the air between us, thick and suffocating. Why is Trevor wearing a girl's shirt? I felt sick. I spent the rest of the period with my shoulders hunched, my chin tucked to my chest, trying to physically shrink myself out of existence. The compression bra dug into my skin, a constant, painful reminder of the secret I was hiding. It was an absurd paradox. I was wearing women's underwear in a desperate attempt to prove I was still a man. That afternoon, I found Olivia waiting for me by my locker. She had an unreadable expression on her face. So she asked, "How was the first day of the rest of your new life?" It was hell. I groaned, leaning my forehead against the cool metal of the locker. Everyone's staring. Madison thinks I'm pretty. Sarah saw my shirt. I feel like a freak. Olivia's sarcasm softened into something like sympathy. She pulled a stray strand of pink hair out of her face. "No one thinks you're a freak. Trevor, they just think you're changing. People change." "Not like this," I said, my voice muffled. "This isn't a change. It's an erasure." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You know, some of the girls in my art class were talking about you. They called you that cute, androgynous guy. They think you look like a K-pop star." I lifted my head, staring at her. "That's supposed to make me feel better." "I'm just saying," she shrugged. "Maybe being a pretty boy isn't the worst thing in the world. Maybe you can work with it." Work with it? How was I supposed to work with this? My body was betraying me. My clothes didn't fit. My own reflection was becoming a stranger. As I walked home with Olivia, a cool breeze rustled the trees, and for the first time, I felt it not on the skin of a boy named Trevor, but on the skin of someone else, and I was terrified. The dreams started that night. They weren't the usual anxiety dreams about failing a test or showing up to school naked. This was different, sharper, more real. I was standing in a vast, sterile white hall. The air hummed with a low, electric thrum. In front of me was a towering structure that looked like a cross between a cathedral and a supercomputer, all gleaming chrome and pulsing blue lights. Etched into the archway above me were the words Electrolux Castle, Reality Curation Suite. It was the logo from the Moore system. A holographic panel shimmered into existence before me, displaying a menu. Please choose desired parameters. Below it were options, sliders, and checkboxes, like a character creation screen in a video game. Height, muscle mass, facial structure. Most of the settings were grayed out, locked on my current, slightly feminized state, but a few were active. Hair length short, best to hip ratio 0.9 male average, vocal pitch 110 Hz male average. My dreaming mind, desperate and clumsy, reached out to the panel. I wanted to fix this. I tried to click on the locked options, to drag the sliders back to where they belonged, but my fingers slipped. Instead of resetting my waist, my hand brushed against the hair length option. The setting flickered from short to shoulder length. A soft chime echoed through the hall. Parameter update applied. Thank you for using more. The panel vanished. I woke up with a gasp, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. My room was dark and silent, but something felt wrong. My head felt heavy. I reached up. My short, boyish haircut was gone. In its place was a soft, silky curtain of hair that fell past my ears, brushing against my shoulders. It was the same dark brown color as before, but the texture was finer, softer. I scrambled out of bed and flicked on the light, staring at my reflection in the mirror. It was me, but it wasn't. The long hair framed my face, softening my features even more. It was a girl's hairstyle. My waist, when I dared to look, seemed to have nipped in just a fraction more. I tried to speak, to say my own name, but what came out was a strangled croak, my voice higher, thinner, stripped of its masculine resonance. Panic, cold and absolute, seized me. This wasn't just a physical glitch anymore. It was an active, malevolent process. The dream hadn't been a dream, it was a control panel, and I had just made everything 1,000 times worse. I tried to get dressed for school, but it was impossible. My jeans were now comically large around my newly slender waist. They slid right off my hips, my shirts. Even the ones that had fit yesterday hung off my frame, making my narrow shoulders and delicate build even more obvious. I was trapped. I couldn't go to school. I couldn't leave my room. I sank onto the floor, my long hair falling into my face, and for the first time since this whole nightmare began, I cried. A soft knock on my door was followed by Olivia's head poking in. "Hey, you're gonna be... Whoa." Her eyes widened as she took in my hair, my bare, narrow waist, the pile of useless male clothing on the floor. The usual sarcasm was gone from her voice, replaced by genuine shock. The glitch, it got worse. I just nodded, unable to speak, wiping my eyes with the back of my hand. She stepped into the room and closed the door behind her. She looked at me, then at the closet, a thoughtful expression on her face. "Okay," she said, her voice suddenly practical. "Okay, Plan B." "What's Plan B?" I whispered, my voice a breathy, unfamiliar thing. "Plan B is you stop trying to be Trevor Ashworth for a day," she said firmly. "Because right now, you can't be. Today, you're going to be someone else." She went into her own room and came back with an armful of clothes. She laid them on my bed. There was a simple dark blue A-line skirt, a soft cream-colored sweater, and a pair of sheer black stockings. "No," I said immediately, shaking my head. "No, Olivia, I can't." "You have to," she insisted, her gaze unwavering. "Look at yourself, Trevor. You can't hide this. Your hair is down to your shoulders. You have the waist of a ballerina. If you show up in baggy boy clothes, you'll look like a girl who's raiding her brother's closet. It's more suspicious. This," she gestured to the clothes, "is camouflage. It's leaning into the skid." Her logic was twisted, insane, and horribly correct. Hiding had failed. Maybe the only way to survive was to hide in plain sight. Numbly, I let her guide me. She left the room so I could change. The first thing I picked up was the pair of stockings. The material was impossibly thin and smooth, cool to the touch. I sat on the edge of my bed and painstakingly rolled them up my legs. The sensation was electric, a delicate, silky friction against my smooth, hairless skin. It felt indecent. My legs, which I'd always seen as strong and athletic, now looked slender and delicate, encased in the sheer black nylon. Next was the skirt. It was made of a soft corduroy material. I stepped into it and pulled it up. It settled perfectly on my narrow waist, the fabric flaring out to cover my thighs. I'd never felt a breeze on my upper legs before. The freedom of movement was as unnerving as the vulnerability it implied. Finally, the sweater. It was cashmere, soft as a cloud against my sensitive skin. It fit perfectly, hugging my slim torso and the small, firm curves of my chest without being tight. When I was done, I stood before the mirror, my heart in my throat. I didn't see Trevor. I saw a stranger, a pretty, sad-looking girl with long brown hair, wide, frightened eyes, and a body that felt like a cage. The clothes didn't feel like a disguise. They felt like a uniform for my new reality. Olivia came back in. She stopped and stared, her mouth slightly open. "Wow," she breathed. It actually works. You look really good." She walked around me, inspecting her handiwork. "We just need a name. You can't be Trevor in a skirt." She tapped her chin. "You look like a Sophie." "Don't call me that," I whispered. But the protest was weak. "Sophie," she repeated, a grin returning to her face. "It fits. Look, Sophie," she said, turning me to face the mirror. "I know this is terrifying, but you have to admit, even just a little bit, that the girl in the mirror is kind of beautiful." I stared at our reflections, me, Sophie, standing there, stiff and awkward in a skirt and sweater. Olivia, beside me, beaming like a proud fashion designer. She was right. The image was jarring, horrifying, and a betrayal of everything I was. But deep down, in a secret, shameful part of my soul that I didn't want to acknowledge, I had to agree. The girl in the mirror was beautiful, and that thought scared me more than anything else. Walking into school as Sophie was the single most terrifying experience of my life. Every step in the flat, sensible shoes Olivia had loaned me felt like I was walking a tightrope over a pit of fire. The gentle sway of the skirt against my legs, the way my long hair brushed against my cheeks, it was a constant, unnerving stream of new physical data. My strategy was simple: head down. No eye contact, melt into the background. It was a complete failure. Instead of the suspicious stares I'd received as a pretty boy, I was now getting open, curious looks. Boys I'd known for years glanced at me, did a double take, and then looked again, their expressions ranging from confused to intrigued. Girls watched me with a mix of sympathy and appraisal. As if I were a new transfer student, they were trying to size up. No one recognized me. The transformation, combined with the clothes, was so complete that Trevor Ashworth had effectively vanished. I was a ghost in my own school. The anonymity was both a relief and a profound source of loneliness. I sat in the back of my classes, my new higher voice silent. When a teacher called on Trevor, I would just stare blankly until they moved on. Assuming I was absent, I was present in body, but my identity was gone. It was during lunch that my carefully constructed wall of invisibility was breached. I was sitting alone at a table in the corner of the library, pretending to read a book, when a shadow fell over my page. "Is this seat taken?" I looked up. It was Ethan Vance. He was a senior, captain of the soccer team, and universally acknowledged as one of the most popular guys in school. He had a lazy, confident smile and eyes the color of warm honey. I'd never spoken a word to him in my life. My throat went dry. I shook my head, my hair swinging forward to hide my burning cheeks. He slid into the chair opposite me, setting his tray down. "I'm Ethan. I don't think I've seen you around here before. You knew—" I had to answer. Saying nothing would be weirder. I took a shallow breath and tried to pitch my voice as low as I could, but it still came out soft and breathy. Something like that. "Cool," he said, his smile widening. "Well, welcome to Northgate. It's not so bad, once you get used to the terrible cafeteria food." He pushed a carton of chocolate milk across the table toward me. Peace offering. My hand trembled as I reached for it. "Thanks." "So, what's your name?" he asked, his gaze open and friendly. I froze. My mind raced. "Trevor. I'm Trevor." But I couldn't say that. Not looking like this, the name Olivia had given me in jest popped into my head, unbidden. "Sophie," I mumbled, staring down at the table. "Sophie," he repeated, testing the name on his tongue. "That's a nice name. It suits you." He leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping a little. "You have really incredible eyes. Sophie, has anyone ever told you that?" My heart did a violent, sickening lurch. It wasn't the kind of thump I got from adrenaline before a basketball game. It was a fluttery, panicked beat that felt utterly, terrifyingly feminine. I was being flirted with. A boy was flirting with me, and my body was reacting as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I have to go," I stammered, grabbing my books. I stood up so quickly that one of them slipped from my grasp and clattered to the floor. "Whoa, hey, I got it," Ethan said, immediately bending down to retrieve it. We both reached for it at the same time. His hand, warm and calloused from sports, brushed against mine. A jolt, like a tiny static shock, shot up my arm. My fingers recoiled as if I'd been burned. I snatched the book, my face the color of a ripe tomato. "Sorry," he said, looking genuinely concerned. "Did I say something wrong?" "No, I'm late for class." I fled from the library without looking back, my heart pounding a frantic tattoo against my ribs. I spent the rest of the day hiding in an unused study hall, my mind a swirling vortex of confusion and self-loathing. My body is betraying me. That was the only thought I could form. It wasn't just the outside anymore. The changes were seeping inward. The way I blushed, the way my heart fluttered, the way Ethan's simple touch had sent a shockwave through my system. Those weren't Trevor's reactions. They were Sophie's. When I got home, Olivia was waiting in the kitchen, munching on an apple. She took one look at my pale, shell-shocked face, and her breezy demeanor vanished. "What happened?" I told her everything. About the anonymity, the loneliness, and the excruciating encounter with Ethan Vance. I described the flutter in my chest, the heat in my face, the jolt from his touch. I hate this. I finished, my voice cracking. I feel like I'm going insane. I'm a guy. Olivia. I like girls. Madison. I miss Madison. So why did my stupid body react like that? Olivia listened patiently, her expression serious. When I was done, she put her apple down. Because your body doesn't know it's supposed to be a guy's body right now. Trevor, it's running on a different operating system. It's got female hardware. Of course it's going to react to a cute guy flirting with you. She leaned forward, her pink-streaked hair falling into her eyes. Look, I know this is a nightmare, but you're fighting a war on two fronts. You're fighting what's happening to you, and you're fighting yourself for how you feel about it. Maybe you can only fight one at a time. I didn't know what she meant, but as I went up to my room, her words echoed in my head. I looked in the mirror at the girl named Sophie, with her long hair and her soft sweater and her haunted eyes. She was a stranger, an imposter living in my skin, but she was also the only one who had gotten me through the day. I was trapped with her, and I was starting to realize that the line between us was getting blurrier with every passing hour. The days that followed blurred into a strange, surreal routine. Each night, I'd fall into an exhausted sleep and find myself in the Electrolux castle. The control panel would appear, its options taunting me. I never touched it again, terrified of making things worse. But it didn't seem to matter. The system was changing me on its own now, making subtle, automatic optimizations while I slept. I'd wake up a little different each morning. One day, my hips seemed fuller, curving out gently from my waist. The next, my chest had grown from a tender swelling to a small, definite bust that required the soft, wireless bras Olivia silently left on my dresser. My skin grew paler, almost translucent, and my movements became unconsciously more graceful. My walk less of a stomp and more of a glide. I was undergoing a slow-motion metamorphosis, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. The more technicians were useless. My dad's calls to them became increasingly frantic. Their official response was always the same. We are working on a patch for this unprecedented parameter cascade. Please remain patient. We were living in a state of suspended disbelief. My family and I, we kept pretending this was a temporary problem, a bug that would soon be fixed. But with every passing day, Trevor felt more like a memory, and Sophie felt more like a reality. Olivia became my anchor. She was the only one who didn't treat me with pity or awkwardness. To her, this was a fascinating, if bizarre, project. She became my stylist, my coach, and my confidant. One Saturday afternoon, she came into my room with a makeup bag. "Okay," she announced, plopping it onto my bed. "It's time for the next step." I eyed the bag with suspicion. No way. I am not wearing makeup. "Sophie, be realistic," she said, using the name she now used exclusively. It still sent a weird jolt through me every time. "Your eyelashes are ridiculously long for a guy, and your lips are getting fuller. A little makeup will make you look intentional, not just accidentally feminine. It's more camouflage." Camouflage. It was always about camouflage, reluctantly. I sat on the edge of my bed while she worked. The experience was a symphony of alien sensations, the tickle of a soft brush dusting translucent powder across my cheeks, the cool, slightly waxy glide of a concealer pencil under my eyes, erasing the dark circles of my sleepless nights, the delicate, precise pull of an eyeliner pencil along my lash line, which made my eyes water. "Hold still," she chided gently. "You're going to make me smudge it." She was so close I could smell the faint, fruity scent of her shampoo. Her touch was gentle, practiced. When she applied the mascara, the tiny brush sweeping up against my lashes felt strangely intimate. The final touch was a sheer, pinkish lip gloss. It felt sticky and smelled like strawberries. "Okay," she said, leaning back to admire her work. "Done. Go look." I walked to the full-length mirror on my closet door, my steps hesitant. I braced myself for the worst. But what I saw stole my breath. The girl in the mirror was stunning. The makeup was subtle, masterfully applied. It didn't look like a mask. It looked like an enhancement. The liner made my dark eyes seem larger and deeper. The mascara made my long lashes look thick and dark. And the gloss gave my lips a soft, inviting shine. The powder had evened out my skin tone, giving me a flawless, almost doll-like complexion. I turned my head from side to side, watching the light catch the gloss on my lips. I lifted a hand and touched my cheek, the skin feeling impossibly smooth under my fingertips for the first time. I didn't just see a boy in a costume. I saw her, Sophie. She was a complete person, looking back at me with my own eyes. A dangerous thought slipped into my mind, uninvited and unwelcome. This isn't so bad. The feeling that followed was a complex cocktail of emotions. There was shame, of course, a deep-seated horror at my own reaction, but underneath it, there was a flicker of something else, a spark of pride, a flutter of excitement. This version of me, this girl, was powerful in a way I'd never been. Trevor was an average guy, a decent basketball player, an okay student. Sophie was beautiful. She could turn heads. She could make the captain of the soccer team speechless. The thought was intoxicating. This dangerous, sweet, poisonous feeling started to take root in the deepest parts of my mind. I began to spend more time in front of the mirror, not with horror, but with a kind of clinical curiosity. I'd watch the way my hips swayed when I walked. I'd practice speaking in my new, softer voice, trying to smooth out the rough edges. I'd try on the different outfits. Olivia brought me a pair of skinny jeans that hugged my new curves, a flowing floral blouse, a simple silver necklace. Each item was another layer, another piece of Sophie that settled over the fading ghost of Trevor. I was still terrified, still lost, but the lines were blurring. The constant war inside my head was starting to quiet down, replaced by a strange, unsettling sense of resignation. Or maybe, just maybe, it was something closer to acceptance. One evening, my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. Hesitantly, I answered. "Hello," my voice was soft, questioning. "Sophie, it's Ethan Vance from the library." My stomach did a nervous flip. "Oh, hi." "Hey, sorry if this is weird. I got your number from a friend of a friend. I was wondering if you were busy this Friday night. A bunch of us are going to a bonfire down at Miller's Point. It's pretty chill. I thought you might want to come." An invitation, a real invitation for Sophie. My mind screamed no. It was too risky, too real. But another part of me, a part I was only just beginning to know, was whispering, yes. I don't know, I stammered. "No pressure," he said quickly, his voice warm and reassuring. "Just think about it. It'd be cool to see you outside of the library sometime." After I hung up, I stood in the middle of my room, my heart racing. I was being pulled deeper and deeper into this life, this identity. Part of me wanted to run, to scream, to lock myself in my room until more fixed me. But another part, a larger part than I cared to admit, was curious to see what would happen if I just let go. If I stopped fighting and just let myself be Sophie for one night. The thought was the most terrifying and the most thrilling I'd ever had. The invitation to the bonfire morphed, as high school plans often do, into a full-blown end-of-summer pool party at Ethan's house. His parents were out of town, and what was meant to be a small get-together had ballooned into the social event of the season. When Ethan called to update me, my blood ran cold. A pool party. Swimsuits. There was no hiding at a pool party. It was the ultimate test, a final exam for which I was completely unprepared. "I can't go," I told Olivia flatly, pacing back and forth in my room. The floral print sundress I was wearing, something that felt shockingly normal, now swished around my knees. "It's impossible." "A swimsuit? Seriously, what am I supposed to do, Olivia?" The lie falls apart the second I have to wear anything less than 3 layers of clothing. Olivia was lying on my bed, scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up. Who said anything about lying? I stopped pacing. "What?" She finally looked at me, her expression uncharacteristically serious. "What part of you is a lie anymore? Trevor, your hair, your voice, your body. You've been living as Sophie for weeks. You look like her. You sound like her. You even walk like her. The only part that's still Trevor is the panic in your head." She sat up. "You can't hide forever. You have to decide if you're going to live your life cowering in the shadows or if you're going to step into the light and own it. This party, it's a chance to see what it's like, to live as a girl, truly, for one night, without holding back." Her words hit me with the force of a physical blow because I knew she was right. I had been existing in the liminal space, a twilight between two identities. This was a crossroads. Go to the party and fully embrace the illusion, or retreat and admit that I was just a boy in a costume, waiting for a fix that might never come. "Okay," I whispered, the word tasting like both surrender and defiance. "Okay, I'll go." Olivia's face broke into a triumphant grin. "Good, because I already bought you a swimsuit." The preparation for the party was a ritual of transformation unlike any I had ever experienced. It started with the swimsuit she'd chosen. It was a modest but flattering one-piece, a deep navy blue with a tastefully ruched front and a halter top that tied at the neck. Standing in my room in just my underwear, I held it up. The lycra felt slick and foreign. Taking a deep breath, I stepped into it and pulled it up over my body. The fit was snug. A second skin of synthetic fabric. It hugged my waist, flared over my hips, and cupped my small, soft breast in a way that was both supportive and shockingly revealing. The material was tight, compressing and defining my form, leaving nothing to the imagination. I looked in the mirror and saw a slender, graceful girl with smooth skin and delicate curves, ready for a day at the pool. The sight was so convincing it made me dizzy. Olivia took over from there. "We need a cover-up," she declared, pulling a white, semi-sheer maxi dress from a bag, something you can wear over the suit that's elegant but casual. The dress slid over my head, light as a feather. It was sleeveless, with delicate embroidery around the neckline, and it fell all the way to my ankles, the soft fabric whispering against my skin with every movement. It concealed the swimsuit but hinted at the shape beneath, a perfect blend of modesty and allure. Next came the shoes. "You can't wear flats to a party like this," she said, producing a pair of low-heeled wedge sandals with straps that crisscrossed over the foot and tied around the ankle. "I can't walk in those," I protested. "You'll learn." And I did. I spent the next hour wobbling around my room, Olivia giving me instructions. Heel-toe, not toe-heel, smaller steps. Let your hips move with it, gradually. The awkward clomping turned into a more natural, swaying gait. The slight elevation changed my posture, forcing me to stand up straighter, pushing my chest out and my shoulders back. It made me feel taller, more exposed, but also strangely more confident. Finally, she sat me down for hair and makeup. She used a curling iron to give my shoulder-length hair soft waves that framed my face, and applied waterproof makeup with the focus of a surgeon. A touch of bronze eyeshadow, waterproof mascara, and a peachy, long-lasting lip stain. When she was done, she spritzed me with a light, floral perfume that smelled of jasmine and sea salt. I stood before the mirror, fully assembled. The girl looking back at me was a complete stranger, yet more myself than I had been in months. It was Sophie, realized in high definition. She was beautiful, she was elegant, and she was, for tonight, me. The fear was still there, a cold knot in my stomach, but it was overshadowed by a breathtaking, terrifying thrill. Arriving at the party was like stepping onto a movie set. Music was blasting, people were laughing, and the pool glowed a brilliant turquoise in the evening light. Ethan met me at the door, his face lighting up when he saw me. "Wow, Sophie," he said, his eyes traveling from my face to my sandaled feet and back again. "You look incredible." "Thanks," I managed, my voice a soft whisper. He led me through the crowd, his hand resting lightly on the small of my back. The brief, casual touch sent a shiver down my spine. He introduced me to his friends, and no one batted an eye. To them, I was just Sophie, Ethan's beautiful new friend. Even Madison was there. She was standing by the snack table, and her eyes met mine across the patio. I braced for some flicker of recognition, some sign that she saw through the disguise. There was nothing. She just gave me a small, polite smile, the kind you give a stranger, and turned back to her conversation. In that moment, Trevor Ashworth truly died. He was a ghost she couldn't even see. The night was a whirlwind. I talked. I laughed. I sipped a cup of punch, my body moving with an unpracticed grace that felt both learned and innate. At one point, Ethan convinced me to go in the pool. I slipped off the maxi dress, my heart pounding, and walked to the edge. I felt dozens of eyes on me, but for the first time, the attention didn't feel like scrutiny. It felt like admiration. The water was cool and refreshing. Ethan swam over to me, his smile never leaving his face, having fun. "Yeah," I said, and I was shocked to find I meant it. I really am. "I'm glad you came," he said, his voice lower now. He drifted closer, the water swirling around us, creating a small, intimate space in the middle of the crowded pool. He reached out and tucked a wet strand of hair behind my ear, his fingers brushing against my cheek. "I've been wanting to get to know you since I first saw you." My breath caught in my throat. This was it, the moment of truth. He was looking at me with genuine affection, seeing a girl he was attracted to, and in that moment, under the party lights, with his hand on my face, I wasn't Trevor playing a part. I was Sophie, living a moment that was entirely her own. The fear, the conflict, the boy I used to be, it all melted away, leaving only the cool water, the warm touch, and a feeling of profound earth-shattering rightness. The weeks after the pool party were a dream. Ethan and I started spending more time together. We went for walks, got coffee, and even went to a movie. It was all so new, so filled with a light, innocent intimacy that made my head spin. He would hold my hand, and it would feel like the most natural thing in the world. He'd compliment my dress or my hair, and I would blush like a normal girl. I was living a double life, but the wall between them was dissolving. My room was now filled with Sophie's clothes. My search history was filled with makeup tutorials. I had almost forgotten the feeling of denim on my legs, the weight of a boy's hoodie on my shoulders. The person I was before the glitch felt like a character from a book I'd read a long time ago. Sophie was the one who was real. Then, one rainy Tuesday afternoon, the call came. My dad picked up the phone. I was in the kitchen, helping my mom with dinner, the rhythmic chop of vegetables a soothing backdrop to my new life. I watched my dad's face as he listened, his expression shifting from tense to relieved, and then to something I couldn't quite read. He hung up and turned to us. "That was more," he said, his voice heavy. "They did it. They isolated the corrupted data stream. They've developed a patch. They can reverse the process, Trevor." The knife in my hand stilled. The room went silent, save for the patter of rain against the window. Reverse the process. Change me back. This was the news I had been praying for, begging for, just a few months ago. It was the magical fix, the escape hatch from the nightmare. So why did it feel like a death sentence? "They can schedule the reversion for as early as tomorrow," my dad continued, looking at me with a hopeful, expectant expression. "You can go back to being yourself, son. Being yourself." The words echoed in the silent kitchen. But who was that anymore? Was it the confused, angry boy who hated what was happening to him? Or was it the girl who had just last night felt a thrill of happiness when Ethan had kissed her goodnight on her doorstep? I couldn't answer. I mumbled something about needing some air and fled to my room. I stood in front of the mirror, the same mirror where this all began. But I wasn't looking at a strange feminized version of Trevor anymore. I was looking at Sophie. Her long hair was tied back in a messy bun. She was wearing a simple gray sweater and black leggings. Her face was free of makeup, but her features were undeniably female soft cheeks, full lips, gracefully arched brows. I thought about everything I would lose, the feeling of a skirt swishing around my legs, the easy camaraderie with other girls, the way Ethan looked at me, like I was something precious, the simple, surprising joy I found in looking pretty. I also thought about everything I would gain back. My old friends, my place on the basketball team, the simple, uncomplicated identity of being a boy, the relief of not having to hide, to lie, to pretend. Olivia found me there, staring at my reflection. She didn't say anything for a long time, just leaned against the doorframe, watching me. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft. "So they can fix you." I nodded, my eyes still locked on the girl in the mirror. "Do you want them to?" she asked, her question cutting straight to the heart of the matter. "Do you actually want to go back, Trevor?" I finally tore my gaze away from the mirror to look at my sister. Her eyes were filled with a deep, knowing sympathy. She wasn't judging me. She was just asking the question that I had been too terrified to ask myself. Do I want to go back? I thought of the terror of that first morning, the shame of wearing her t-shirt, the humiliation of trying to bind my chest. Then I remembered the surprising softness of the cashmere sweater, the cool slide of nylon stockings on my legs, the electric jolt of Ethan's touch. I remembered the girl in the mirror after Olivia did my makeup. The dangerous, sweet thrill of seeing her for the first time. I remembered the pool party, the feeling of the maxi dress against my skin, the confidence that came with the click of the sandals on the pavement. I remembered Ethan's kiss, soft and gentle, a promise of a future I had never imagined. Becoming Sophie had been a nightmare, but living as her was starting to feel like a dream. "I don't know," I whispered. And it was the most honest thing I had ever said. I truly didn't know. Part of me yearned for the simplicity of my old life, but the other part was terrified of losing the person I had become. That night, sleep did not come easily. When it finally did, I was back in the sterile, white halls of the Electrolux castle. The holographic panel shimmered to life in front of me, but this time, it was different. There were no sliders, no options to adjust my body. There was only a single line of text, pulsing with a soft blue light. It was a simple binary choice, a final question, upon which my entire future rested. "Your reality has been stabilized. Would you like to stay?" Yes. No. I stood before the panel, my reflection a ghostly image on its surface. The girl with the long hair and the soft features stared back at me, her eyes wide with fear and hope. The cursor blinked, waiting for my decision, and for the first time, I wasn't sure which reality was the real one anymore.